Hello, this is Lisa LaRose here on Connect to Love on PRNFM, and it's an absolutely beautiful day, and I am so blessed to be joined by Michael J. Russ. I want to extend a warm welcome to you, Michael. It's such a delight and always a pleasure to be joined by you to contemplate the mysteries of the universe. Welcome.
Thank you. Awesome. This is one of my favorite times of the week to sit and have this unscripted discussion with you, because you're just, so amazing and loving and energetic and we're kindred spirits. So it's
truly. And Michael, you always send me so many different things that keep my mind thinking, and the only way that I can sum up everything that you sent me this week was all about positivity and having a vision for your future and being able to live in the now, but emanate and attract what we want from a positive perspective. And I found a wonderful quote that said, when you have the perfect vision of your future, hold it in your thoughts like the last breath you'll ever take. And it made me think about the breath that we take and the life that we live, and every day embracing something that is beautiful, finding something to be optimistic about, finding something to be curious about, to have information and use the power of your mind and bring in more joy and bring in more love and bring in all of the wonderful things that we want to have as that perfect vision of our life. And there's so many different things. Right now we're on the precipice of this amazing lifetime event, this solar eclipse that's coming in, and everything that I've heard about it, there's so much buzz in the air. I've never in my life, I think, in any of the eclipses that I've ever experienced, heard so many people talking about the month of April and about what the potentiality of the positive things that we're bringing in. And I thought I would just mention a few of the incredible things that are happening in April. One is the comet that is actually coming through. It's every 71 years. It's coming into our orbit this month. On April 4th, we are having a planetary alignment between Venus, Neptune, Saturn, and Mars, which is really quite incredible. And then on April 8th, not only is there the eclipse, but they're saying that in the sky is another alignment of 7 planets that is actually in a direct alignment from Jerusalem to the east. And they said that this happening will only happen every 32 million years. So I thought to myself, wow, what an amazing time to be alive. It is really, like, what isn't there to be positive about? And we get a little bit into the astrology that you and I follow through Pam Gregory and a couple other people. But one of the things that every person that I've listened to has said is that this time, the relationship, there is a certain resonance being created that is taking us, both the material and the spiritual planes are working together to bring us up into a higher space of love. And so I thought it would just, would be a fun thing to play with today about breathing in that positivity and embracing that, because I think that when we breathe it in, you find that place where you can be in awe or something magical happening in your life. It goes well beyond the law of attraction. It becomes a place of what you emanate out into this world. And so if we have this unique astrological, astronomical doorway, why not let it be amazing? And I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, Michael. I know it's a lot to start the show off with.
Yeah, let me unpack that suitcase. What's interesting about, everything you said is interesting, number one. And we do listen to Pam Gregory, although I'm not as into astrology as a lot of people. I listen to Pam because Pam has a deep desire to help people be positive, help people very much like we do with this podcast and the way I do with my own Life Moves podcast, and helping people see beyond just the planetary alignments and how the energies that are being created can help them move forward in their own ascension, in their own lives, moving past misfortune and unfortunate circumstances, moving past negativity and drama, and the sheer weight of the negativity that is so pervasive. It hangs over the whole world like a cloud with because the information that's being disseminated, 90% of it, in my view, it's a very high percentage, but about 90% of it is negative. Because, what's wrong, what we don't have, what we'll never have, why don't we have, these ideas and concepts that are so pervasive in our world today, that all tie to some negative drama, some event, something, and it's just enough to weigh you down, right? The weight of it it gets most people down. And what we don't realize as human beings is that we are highly suggestive, which is why Carol always talks about the grid. Our grid, our subconscious, is completely suggestive. It really doesn't do anything other than accept what we expose ourselves to. And that grid has to be cleaned by our guide, and that's how we move through life. We do the receiving, right? We as individuals do the receiving, and our personalities they do the perceiving of what something means to us. And it's interesting because one of the things that I've said for a long time, and it's been echoed by just about everybody, Bashar, Carol, you name it, that we can only feel a certain way when we allow ourselves to feel that way. We have to give ourselves permission to feel that way, and a lot of times people forget that. We're shown all these tragic circumstances around the world that literally rob us of our positivity because we're focused on something that doesn't really impact us, affect us. It has nothing to do with our own lives and our own soul's journey. It's just something that's out there happening to someone else, and this is the world we live in. It's called news. It's called media. People report on things. It goes through social media. It goes through regular mainstream media, and in order for us to be able to hold space for the positivity that we're talking about here, which is literally infinite. It is our gift. Positivity is our gift, right? So, and we can choose it. It's something that we can choose. That's also a gift. Our right to choose positivity. We have. So when we talk about the planetary alignments and things of that nature, we've got to push all the mess aside and be able to hold space for that, for what it means to have 7 planets in alignment in a 32 million year cycle, which I just must say I can't even fathom.
It's miraculous, isn't it? I mean, to be to say my soul, my beingness, my humanity chose to be here with all of these other souls at this time to experience this. Wow.
It's interesting. Somebody asked me the other day, and I can tell you this. At some point in my lifetime, can't tell you where, but I've seen a full solar eclipse. I've been present. Wherever I was in the world, it was happening. And I've been a couple other places where we've had partial eclipse, which we're going to have where I live now. We'll have 75% of the 100% that's happening in Texas next Monday. So the fact that we'll be able to see that here on the Gulf Coast is pretty amazing. And I'll be 3 hours closer, 3.5, almost 4 hours closer, because I'm going to be in Biloxi, Mississippi. So I'll be closer, and I probably should get more than 75% based on that, closer to Texas. But listen, we have the one thread that goes through all of these events, like you said, kind of piggyback on what you just said, is the positivity, the energy shifts, the opportunity for change, the opportunity to embrace and transform your life and your thinking, right? And that means you have to have an open mind. You have to be open to just receiving these vibrations. And this really all it takes. You have to be open to receiving them and sit in create space for them in your mind instead of focusing all the stuff out there, the garbage that doesn't matter. The garbage that doesn't matter, stuff that the drama, the things that people converse about because they're not in touch, not aware of how they're feeling or how their life can be impacted by what's going on. And mostly what you hear about is, how it can be impacted in a negative way. Well, there's a whole lot of positivity. This evidently, from what I understand, the impacts of this, the energetic impacts of this full eclipse, is going to be felt for the next 6 months.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was going to say, when you have an eclipse, they always say that it's a doorway to new beginnings. And if you see that doorway as an opportunity to shift your consciousness, so if you have been vibrating in a state of the opposite of positive, you have an even greater doorway to open up to a higher plane where you can choose that oneness and love as your guiding principles. You can choose that positivity, and you can open your heart. We've talked a lot about the energy of the heart, and when you open and you drop into the field of the heart, it actually can shift what's going on the planet. And this is not, this is from Heart Math Institute and through Lynn McTaggart, who has put out information about the field. And I think that's one of the things that, from everything that I've gathered, is it's an awakening to the truth of who we are, the magnificence of our own light, our own inner light, and really embracing that. I think that there's so much that takes us away from that, and that when we can reclaim, and this is the perfect example, reclaim our sovereignty and say, you know what, I know I came in with these gifts. I know that I can do that. I can actually channel in a different perspective. And you had sent me a couple of different videos from Bashar. It was channeled by Daryl Anka. And I just jotted down this one little sentence because it says, if you know that being in the positive state means that no matter what's happening, you're going to be able to benefit out of it somehow, then what difference does it make what the reality looks like? Because you are powerful enough to say, I don't care what happens. I don't care how it started. I don't care if it even started negatively. I don't care about anyone else's opinion. I don't care about anyone else's experiences. The only thing is, if I remain in a positive state, I will get a benefit from it, and nothing else matters. And he went on to say that, and I love this word too, that he uses the word prefer. And I really love that word. I prefer to see more clearly. I prefer to be more positive. I prefer this. And reclaim that sovereignty, reclaim that inner power to say, you know what, not so much. I don't really prefer that. Instead, I prefer positivity. I prefer beauty. I prefer love. I prefer all of those wonderful things that are my right as a sovereign being. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, Michael, because you are one of those people who have reclaimed your sovereignty, or claimed your sovereignty, not even reclaimed it.
Here's an interesting thing. Yes, I claim my sovereignty. However, we all must understand that claiming your sovereignty is a moment-to-moment thing that choice that you have to make. Yeah, because you're always faced with opportunities to brand yourself as a victim, to complain, to move to the opposite of sovereignty, which is allowing other things into your mind, other things into your body, other things into your spiritual consciousness, the grid, so to speak, and the aspect of your soul aspect of who you are. It's always a thing. I just make a choice that I'm going to live from sovereignty, and that's a current, always a present action. It's always a present action. It's not something you just say, okay, I'm living from sovereignty, and you just kind of move on. This life is an experience. We've chosen to experience this earthly plane because, and this dimension, because of the huge polarity between negativity and positivity. That's what this earthly plane offers, is that huge opportunity to choose positive over negative in every given moment, and not get so caught up in negativity that you don't see the doorways or the paths to what you actually want in life: more love, more happiness. So from what you were saying in terms of eclipses being doorways, we have to be able to see them. In order to see them, we have to choose sovereignty. We have to ourselves be very cognizant of what we're exposing ourselves to in terms of people, dialogue, the entertainment, whatever it is out there. It all ends up in us. It can all impact us. We have perceptions about everything, so we have to manage our perceptions. And I have for decades now chosen to not only watch what I say and think about myself, how I perceive whatever's going on, and because that allows me to be able to have to hold space and to see, basically be able to just see opportunities that arise. And this the eclipse, the planetary alignments, and all of that are opportunities if we choose to make them so, or choose to see them as opportunities, which is the most important thing. We have to choose to receive this time frame that we're in right now as an opportunity for us, and that energy will be available to us if we perceive that energy is there and that we can use it to our benefit to elevate us to a whole new frequency of living, which is what we, whether we realize it or not, it's what we want. And unless, of course, we don't, because we're stuck in the mud, so to speak, of living, right? Letting the societal pressures and the 3D world that we're engaged in, which again has that huge positive, negative polarity, dark side, light side, get in the way.
Duality, right?
Yeah,
I always call it duality. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's another way of saying it. So for our listeners here on PRN-FM, the way I would put this is make sure that, especially this weekend and into the eclipse, tone down the amount of information that's negative information that you're exposing yourself to. If there's a friend you have who's always negative, who's always a negative Nelly, they're always complaining, everything's about drama, distance yourself from that person this weekend. Distance yourself from that kind of situation. Make choices based on preferences where you say, like you said there, and I've been doing this for decades, I prefer to be here, not there. When somebody asks you, hey, let's go out to party and do whatever, and till 4 a.m., you say, no, I prefer to do this instead. I prefer to stay home because there's something else I really would like to do. I prefer, not I don't want to do that, right? Your mind doesn't understand the word don't, as a good friend of mine used to say. State things the way you want them to be, and that's just basically to choose. Make preferences, preferable choices for you that benefit you as an individual. And then come into the Monday, make some time to sit down and just feel the energy, feel what's going on during that time. I'm going to be, the eclipse is going to start when I'm an hour away from finishing a round of golf on Monday. That's when it's going to start. I think it's
amazing.
12:38. I tee off at 9:28 in the morning. So I'm going to be 1 hour left. It's going to start when I'm 1 hour away from finishing the round. And I'm going to tell my girlfriend we need to go back to the hotel. I just want to sit down for a little bit and just kind of experience this thing. And I think I should be, based on the room I think we're going to have, I should have a bird's eye view of this thing, where I can, or we can go down to the pool, or we can do whatever, and just experience it. She would love to do that, and I would too, and just sit there and hold the energies of what's going on in your heart, in your mind, in your soul. Just let it happen. Don't judge it. Don't talk about it, to the nth degree. Just feel it, because sometimes words can get into the way of your feelings when you're making judgments. No judgment about anything at that particular point. Clear your mind, clear your soul, clear your slate of everything, and just take advantage of. Just feel it, just feel it. And then for the next 6 months, vow to do that. Prefer to be a part of this whole thing versus letting it just slip by. It's everything can get into the way. There's always going to be something. Just say, hey, I prefer not to do that. I prefer to do this. I prefer to not be a part of this drama today. I prefer to be somewhere else. My preference is to put my energies in a positive direction, focus in a positive direction, instead of dedicating energy and investing in negativity of any kind, drama or otherwise, and see what happens. It's a glorious time to be alive with all these things happening, and you're never going to be able to feel them if you don't allow yourself to have the space to feel them and get everything else out, move everything out of the way.
Absolutely. And Michael, I'm really glad that you brought up the power of the mind, because that is truly a sovereign space. Nobody can, people can suggest things to you, but ultimately you have the power to decide what you take in as truth. And we can change our thoughts really in an instant, and we can change our circumstances. If we walk into a restaurant and you aren't feeling it, like you're not welcome because for whatever reason you sort of feel like everybody's too rushed and you just don't feel like you're going to have a bad experience, even though that was where you thought you were going to eat, you can pivot, turn around and walk out the door and find some place where you walk in and somebody's got a great big smile. Oh my gosh, we're so happy to have you here. You can change your whole experience of a meal. And sometimes we don't trust that. We don't allow ourselves, we're already here. 9 times out of 10, it's not, but you can certainly shift the experience too. But I think, you have to honor your thoughts and be aware of what you're holding in your space. And I think that is what is known as discernment. For me anyway, I always ask for discernment to know what is my truth. And I prefer in this lifetime to walk in a more positive aspect. I walked out, we had the craziest rainstorm last night, and I walked out into the yard where my dogs are. I didn't hear it last night, but 2 big, huge tree limbs came down in 2 different spots in my fence. And these limbs, they're huge, and they took out two big chunks of my fence. And I thought, okay, well, I picked up the pieces of the broken fence and kind of did the little jerry-rigging of, like, blocking it so the dogs couldn't escape. But I can't move these. And I thought, well, so I just have to go out and buy some new fence, and I reached out to the person who can help me, and if he's not available, I'll figure it out some other way. I can certainly use I can't use a chainsaw. I'm not a chainsaw kind of girl, but I can use leverage like you did with your mattress, and figure out a way to leverage it out of that space and go to Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever and buy some new fencing and just put the pieces in.
I was.
But it's stuff. I didn't go, oh my God, this is the most devastating thing that happened. No, because it's just stuff. It's just stuff, and I know that there's an easy solution, and I'm really grateful it wasn't the whole tree. Because if it had been the whole tree, and it would have probably hit the house or whatever. But I'm not going to worry about it. The tree's still standing. And actually, it's two trees because it's in two different sections. But
two things
go
I'll
ahead.
tell you, piggyback on this. Number one, after Hurricane Michael, which damaged a lot of different trees, I was in my office sitting where I am right now, and I heard this big thud. And I walked outside the front door, and a limb we call a widowmaker. It has a crack in it, a fracture in the limb that you can't see because you would have cut it down had you seen it. And a strong wind caused the rest of the limb to come down. Now the limb was only about 12 inches in diameter. It was not very fat in terms of a pine tree limb. However, I couldn't move it. Nothing I did would move anything about this thing. I mean, it was amazing. The guy from across the street had come over with his chainsaw and cut it up into 12 pieces. And those pieces were heavy. We had to carry them together over to an area where they could be picked up. So it's I could simply say, don't hurt yourself trying to move a huge tree a limb that's come down on your fence.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
You can repair it. Just got to be very, very, very careful. The other thing I wanted to say is that you're talking about being able to pivot, and what I found is that sovereignty requires agility, flexibility, mental agility, mental flexibility. We have to be open to change at a moment's notice, because nothing is pointless. Nothing is pointless in life. So when we have something, we have aligned ourselves with a certain decision, a place we're going to go, a thing we're going to do, and by George, we're going to do that thing, right? And then something comes up that gets in the way. And then we go through this whole dog and pony show of drama and anger and negativity because we couldn't do that thing at that time on that day. Right? We couldn't do that. We're going to get all upset about it, and we're going to let 15 of our friends know on Facebook that, it didn't happen, and you're all upset about it. And you're going to infect everybody's space with your negativity. You're going to be toxic for a while because that thing didn't happen. And my point is, wow, if you had if you said, look, I'm in control of my mind, my body, and my spirit. I oversee my mind, my body, and spirit. Nothing can make me feel any way that I don't want to feel. I am in total, complete charge of that. Well, we have to ask ourselves, when your plans become displaced for one reason or another, that's the time when you have to apply that sovereignty, when you have to recognize that that's a thing. And in my book, Zero Adversity, I posited that there are only three perceptions of an event. One's positive, one's negative, the other is neutral. And it was interesting that just today I was listening to Bashar, and he was talking about neutrality, that we should look at things in life from a neutral perspective, because neutral, you're not investing negative or positive. It's just a thing that's happening.
Right.
Right? We have to, and this is what we have to say to ourselves, it's just a thing. That's just something that happened. I don't need to invest in it. I don't need to dedicate emotions and time and energy and all that space to that thing. Let's see what else we can do. Let's find out. I don't know why that happened, and I'm never going to know why it happened. So why not just go with what we got? Maybe we're supposed to do that another time. Maybe this thing that came, that's the thing we're supposed to do because that's more timely for us. That's the thing that we really need right now, not the other thing that I really, really was, had my ball and chain tied to. Because that's what we do. We have a tendency to do just that. And then we go, oh, woe is me, it didn't happen. And then for the next 2 weeks, we'll tell everybody the story of how what we wanted to do didn't happen. Instead of embracing the thing that you had to choose, that you could choose to do as opposed to that, and investing in that with your positive energies. Because that, a lot of times I find that when it comes to connection, life is about connection. It's the one thing we have in common that keeps us young and helps us live longer is a relational connection. Sometimes things don't happen the way you think they do because you're supposed to meet somebody, because somebody is set to come into your life at that particular point in time, just for a brief moment or not. It could be longer. And that person is who you're supposed to connect with. Maybe something you say to that person will move them in a different direction. Because
for sure.
It's what they need right now, right? You've got what they need.
Or what I need, or what you need.
Yeah, they've got what you need, right?
Yeah.
At this particular point. And there's different ways. There's different ways of looking at things. To me, that's a positive perception. A neutral perception is a positive perception because it doesn't evoke any negativity. It doesn't evoke negativity. It's just there. That's command of that's, as Bashar calls it, and I have too. That's real self-empowerment. When you can choose the way you feel in any given moment, under any circumstance. That's real empowerment.
I'm chuckling, Michael, because as you were speaking, it reminded me of a day in the life of Lisa, and I had been at my office counseling this gentleman who was diagnosed with colon cancer. And was the initial intake, and we were going through a lot of different things. And on my way home, I got stopped in the construction zone and couldn't go anywhere, and somebody rear-ended me. He decided he wasn't going to stop. So because the flaggers were out, and I just got out, and I'm like, oh, it's not really a big deal. It's like, he just bumped into me. That's what bumpers are for. I said, don't worry about it. And I got back in my car, and because they were waving us through at that point, and I thought, well, we'll just go. And I got a phone call, and it was from somebody, and I just said, oh, it's such a strange thing. I just got rear-ended at a construction site. And they said, well, did you get their information? And I said, no, I didn't. It's not a big deal. Well, there could be problems with this and that and this and that. And I thought, okay, fine. You know what? All right, I'll follow this guy. And I felt like a stalker. I let him go around me, and then I followed him, and I actually drove up to his house. And I said, you know what? I said, I'm sorry. I should have gotten this information. They were trying to get us out of, keep the traffic moving. But can I just have your information? So we started having a conversation, and I said, what do you do? And he said, oh, I'm a tattoo artist. And he was like, what do you do? And I told him, and I said, I was just coming from my office, and I work in holistic health. And he said, my mother healed herself of colon cancer. I said, really? He said, yeah, the doctors didn't have a good prognosis for her, and she used this particular supplement. And I thought, what a gift. It's such an amazing thing. I got rear-ended so that I could have some information that I could pass on to the gentleman I had just seen and change an outcome. And that's exactly how things can happen.
Magic.
And it was such amazing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, gosh, I'm telling you, how many times has it happened to you? And I know it's happened to me a ton of times. You're just the universe has different plans. You're like, you think you're supposed to be doing something, and you're really not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be doing something else. And it's lovely to be in that situation. And even more amazing when you recognize it, and then you stand or sit in gratitude of, in the realization that other thing that you've just experienced the magic of listening to your own intuition, to the magic of your own. You've just paid attention to the magic of your own sovereignty and acted from that. There are lots of different realizations that can occur at that particular moment. However, when you recognize it, that realization, that point, it really changes things for you. At least you can, if you allow it to. That you can do that more often, that you can start seeing a different side to things, that to the misfortune which you previously labeled as misfortune or unfortunate circumstances or adversity. You labeled something as adversity, and really it was just a thing. And you figured you had done.
Well, I know for you, Michael, you believe that opportunity can be found around any corner. And you embrace that opportunity when it does come. And
of course.
You do. I mean, I know you. I have had conversations with you, and I'm just like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Whether it be on the golf course or meeting somebody on a cruise or in your travels or whatever, it becomes an opportunity for you to share your knowledge, to learn things, and it's because you hold that positive state and that openness.
It comes to me. It comes for me. It comes to me because everybody said it. Carol said it. Basar said it. Other people, Sarah, we pay attention to in life. Even Pam Gregory, I think, has said it. That the more you pay attention to and those circumstances and how they play out, when you have the realization and you actually acknowledge that what has happened, where you thought you were supposed to go somewhere, you didn't, you went somewhere else, and something awesome happened. The more you live in gratitude of that, the more you'll experience it. The more it will happen to you, because naturally, from the perspective of now, you'll be looking for it, right? You're now aware that that sort of thing can happen, and you'll be looking for it, and you'll see it more often, and then you'll start to think and act from that perspective, and what's the other thing that I thought was so brilliant that was said about a week ago was that we know we've changed because we're reacting differently. We're responding differently to the same things that are happening in life. That's how we really know that we've transformed. Because the thing that happened previously where you went ballistic, you didn't go ballistic. You saw it as a neutral event, or you saw it as an opportunity, or as validation for you were having changed, for validation that you were not thinking the same way that you were. And that's really the way I see it. When you know that, you know you're operating at a different frequency when you don't respond the same way to life that you used to.
Sure, so, absolutely.
It's powerful, man. It's people talk about self-empowerment. There's books, empowerment this, empowerment that, and it really boils down to something really simple that we can all just participate in, and we're all capable of participating in. There's no funny thing that has to occur, no lightning bolt that needs to happen, or any kind of near-death experience. You don't need those things. Some people do. Other people just can simply embrace new ideas and preferences and change on their own, which is pretty much me. I don't think I haven't really in my life had anything other than a girlfriend of mine who I really loved passing away early in life at 25. That was probably the only thing in life that has that shook me. That's the only thing I can think of that shook me to my core at that particular point in time, and until I realized some years later that it was an opportunity for me to move forward. And that's, I tell that story to people and they go, oh man, that's amazing. Yeah, you can hold on to grief too deeply and for too long and miss a whole lot of life. Miss a whole lot of things. Miss a whole lot of opportunities to yourself undergo the transformation that you came here to do. You came here as a soul to undergo this transformation, or to participate in these tensions, and you don't really know what they are, but you can kind of move through it. But I was listening to someone today that a video that someone had sent me, and this young lady her mother had deeply connected with her in a spiritual way, and her mother told her that, in order to help you along in your soul's mission, I'll have to go to the other side. And she thought she understood what that meant until her mother got leukemia and died 2 weeks later, right? She was a completely healthy 42-year-old, right? And it took her own grief, because it shocked her at how quickly it occurred, even though she understood, and her mother had told her while she was standing there looking in the eye that this is going to happen, and this is why it's going to be happening. When I get there, I'll connect with you from the other side. We'll elevate each other's energies. We'll blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. It took her 5 years to get over the grief of losing her mother. And then they finally connected. right? They finally
Wow.
connected on the plane. It's the whole. I'll have to send you the YouTube link because it's an interesting story. And this was you started this whole place where people can come and experience her and her mother from the other side are working together to help elevate people's energies in a retreat that they created. And I thought it was so loving and so beautiful. And that's not everyone's story. However, as my friend Joe Higgins said, who was on this show a couple of years ago, Joe talks to the dead, literally. The dead come to him.
Well, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's a fantastic guy. They come to him in order to help those who they've left behind feel okay and not grieve so deeply and see it in a different way, perceive the whole death in a completely different way. And now he's working more with children who've lost a parent and parents who've lost children. He's really helping them see a different side, perceive that event in a different way, so that the rest of their transformation and development and their soul's intentions can be met while they're here. Because again, deep grief blocks all energy, blocks everything. You can't see the forest for the trees because you're knee deep. It's like you might as well bury yourself, 10 stories down in the hole. You're not going to hear anything, see anything. You're not going to be able to be cognizant of what's going on out there that can help you move forward. You're just stuck in a funk. You're just in limbo, so to speak. And
right.
And it's really kind of interesting. So the way he puts it in his various books is pretty fascinating. And it's a glorious life that he's chosen to live, and the way he's helping people heal is pretty amazing.
Sure. Absolutely. And I think, Michael, that you said it so eloquently, and you're faced with a challenge. It's how you see it. And you didn't let your challenge with losing your girlfriend stop you. It wasn't a roadblock. It was a stepping stone. It helped you grow. And you found different ways, I'm sure, to navigate through the difficult times. But you came out of it with a positive outlook. It gave you perhaps a greater appreciation for life, the fragility of life, and the importance of connection, right? And love, there's lots of things, I'm sure, that remind you. And so, you I think with any challenge that we have, if you just hold a positive mindset and a vision of what your desired outcome is and what that goal is, it can be very challenging. And I think the most challenging thing is to keep your frequency higher. Keep your thoughts on positive things, feelings, beliefs, and that really does, no matter what it is, try to find something positive in the situation. And it can be very challenging. I know there's not one person on the planet who has not experienced heartache of one type or another, whether it's the loss of a pet or a friend or a loved one, or the loss of a job, or whatever it is. But the dawn comes up the next day, and what are we choosing to breathe in? What are we choosing to breathe in? I would like to have that positive. If it's the last breath I take, I would like it to be a positive, peaceful breath.
So true. And it's interesting because I come across this all the time, that everybody's all great, everybody's all happy, enjoying life. Until something happens, they're exposed to something. And it may not be directly happening to them. It could have happened to somebody close to them. And they get caught up in it, not realizing that is their opportunity to grow. It's their opportunity to transform and expand. That experience is happening for them for a specific reason that you'll never be privy to. You can support them. You can influence them. You can be a positive light that they can turn to and see, hey, I can be like that. However, as Bashar says over and over again, if people choose not to see something there's nothing you can do about it. And you're just there to you can impart information. You can be an influence, a positive influence, by telling them your story and how you handled it. And they can aspire to do the same thing, but you've got to release your attachment to whether they do it or not. Controlling people is sometimes it's a full-time job for many people. They just want to control everybody, and they want them to think a certain way. Maybe like them, they want them to think better. And I hate to bring this up, but Bishop said something really beautiful, and that is that if you get upset because somebody won't do as you say, then that really means that you don't believe what you're saying. You're not living it. You're not believing it. And you're not living it yourself. And that might sound like a little bit of a conundrum, but it's really not. You're here for you and for your own your soul's benefit. You chose to be here. You chose everybody around you. You're in a play, and you're a player in theirs. Their play, they're a player in your play. Even the person you run into on the street that you pick up their phone when it dropped, cell phone dropped on the ground, you picked it up, they said thank you. Even that interaction has meaning, has value, has just as much value as somebody that you've loved your entire life. Everything has value. Nothing is pointless, and which is becoming that and so what are becoming my favorite two things to say. Nothing is pointless. Nothing is completely pointless. And as I'm saying this right now, there was a big thunderstorm through here yesterday. No big limbs down or anything.
You had it too.
Oh, we had a thunderstorm come through here about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and there was a big pop of thunder right outside my window on the golf course, and I actually see the tree that the lightning hit. Now, I see the effect of it. I didn't, I have this view every single day out this window, and I'm looking at a tree that's got a very wide gash in it, about 5-6 feet up from the trunk, and that is a lightning strike. The lightning strike hit. It went down into the ground and it left this opening, and unfortunately, over the next year, the tree will die. They'll have to cut it down, as they've done all the other trees that have been hit by lightning. But around here, these pine trees that are 40, 50 feet tall, some of them extremely old. But it's just a thing. We shouldn't feel sorry for things. Everything has a life, and what the death of my girlfriend did teach me. Thank you very much for mentioning that and reminding me is in our audience that every time someone dies that I know, best friend, my father, anybody, that first death at 22 taught me that life is precious. We don't know how long we're going to be here, and it taught me to respect relationship no matter what, and that there's really no place for anger in a relationship. That you have the sovereign right to feel that the way that you feel, but you have to respect other people's feelings, and that you must cherish whatever love you have. I think, as a matter of fact, I know I love more deeply now because of that event in my life.
I'm sure.
I love friends, family, and I tell people, I say so. I don't just go around.
I totally get it.
Great to see you again. I'll go say, no, man, we end the call with love you, man.
Yeah,
love you very much.
Absolutely. I love you. I agree.
Yeah, and that's a great feeling in its own right. Right? That just makes you feel awesome that you have that depth of relationship, that depth of feeling for someone, and they have it for you. Good friends, golfing buddies, we do. We say that. Love you, man. Just end every conversation like that, because you don't know how long they're going to be here or what circumstances. But we got to cherish. If we can look someone in the eye and we can give them a hug, we better cherish that opportunity today.
Yeah,
nothing should
absolutely.
Get in the way of that. Nothing should get in the way of that.
Well, and when you have an event like that, Michael, I think that, there are days where you don't want to get up to see and face the world. And you really have to find that inner strength and choose the happiness and look for the positive things around you. I mean, it's very easy to just kind of get stuck in the quagmire of the darkness or whatever it is, but we do have that power And even though it may sometimes feel hard for us to believe that there is another day or a brighter day, I mean, you look at the sunrise. There's that promise that the sun will rise in the morning and that the moon will come up at night and that the spring flowers will come out. And I I had to laugh because in my yard, it's spring here in Pittsburgh, and I have this weed, quote unquote weed, growing everywhere. It's got these purple flowers in this thing, and
I know the weed.
And so I thought, what is this thing? And here I found out that there were actually 3 plants growing in my yard. One was called Creeping Charlie, which I had never heard of. And the other one, this thing that is everywhere, is called a dead nettle, but it's not actually related to nettles at all. It's actually completely related to something different. But it's because I thought, well, I should just mow all this down, because what is this, all this stuff growing? And then I read that it is one of the best foods for the bees. And I thought, no, just going to leave it.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
The flowering plant, we have to be very careful because, bees are not to just put poison on it to try and kill it.
And I thought, does it really matter if it's all the way through my lawn? And again, goes back to like the sun. And so then I did a search to find out a little bit more, and I found a seed company that actually sells the seeds for this perceived weed, and they also sell dandelion seeds. And I thought, that is amazing. And it has to do with what you prefer and your perception. And so there are people who prefer to grow what we perceive as weeds. And what a great metaphor, though, right? So I totally changed my thought process about this thing growing in my yard. And now I look at them and I see them in a positive light.
Wonderful,
I'm like, this is great. Yeah.
There's no right, there's no wrong. There's only positive and negative.
Mm-hmm.
There's no right or wrong. Everybody's perception. We have a right to our perceptions. And I believe around here it was red clover. Red clover is a very beautiful budding weed that grows along the side of the road here at this time of the year. And it's got this nice deep red bud. And I found one at the barn. No, not in a barn. I found it on my walk, and I picked one and brought it home to my girlfriend, and I put it in some water. And she said, "This is what you're talking about, right? This red clover." She says, "Yeah, that's it." I said, "Isn't it pretty? It's just a gorgeous flower bud. It just grows wild." And there are really cool things to do. In Germany, when I was there, they have red poppies that grow on the side of the road. Red poppies. California got the golden poppy is the state flower. It's an orange poppy, which is a beautiful, beautiful flower.
It is
one of the most beautiful flowers I think I've ever seen, because the orange is so deep, so beautiful. You just want to stare at the thing for half an afternoon. Use it as a meditation tool would be fantastic. But they grow everywhere, and you can get poppy seeds to just grow them in your own yard, toss them out, but they're just wonderful. And it's a shame that some flowers only blossom once a year at a certain time, and just so gorgeous. And you have to, as the girlfriend that passed back in 1982, she was Hawaiian, and she said no flower should ever go unpicked. No flower should ever go unpicked and unappreciated. Which is why it goes along with the Polynesian culture of picking a flower and putting it in your hair. And that basically was where she was coming from with that, and because there's so many beautiful flowers and fragrances, and putting a flower, as a woman putting flower in her hair. Men put a flower in their hair when they do the hula sometimes. And it's really interesting. There's so much to love about life. I just get off on all of it. And
you're
that's
absolutely right.
We have a choice to see the beauty, to see the love, to feel the love, to feel awesome. Everybody has a right to that. And if you're not feeling amazing, if you're not feeling awesome when you get up in the morning, You have to reevaluate what your perceptions of life are, what perceptions of your sleep, what perceptions of what did you go to bed thinking? What did you think in the middle of the night when you woke up? What are you worried about? Right? What is getting in the way of feeling happy and loving and joyful? And in relationships, people argue. People have differences of opinion, and I've had to get mostly over it. The need to be right when I understand that what I have comes from something factual. I have a tendency to fight for that fact, although it really isn't important in the end. It really isn't important.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you're right isn't important. And in the grand scheme of things, the only thing that's important is that you feel good about yourself, feel good about life, because that's what radiates from you when you do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael, you're absolutely. I love and cherish poppies because where I grew up in Canada, those orange poppies were everywhere. They grew everywhere by the side of the road, and they when I see them, they remind me of my grandmother. They remind me of a lot of different things in my childhood, and they are one of those things that to me are absolutely beautiful and breathtaking. And so I really appreciate you bringing it up, because there is so much beauty in every moment and every day, and we just have to open our mind to that experience and really embrace the warmth of one positive thought leading to another, and knowing that we have that open doorway, that gateway, and whatever it is. And sometimes that positivity can just be illuminated just by a simple smile, and that every day, really, there is something to be positive about, no matter where it is. And we just have to walk through, like we have that gateway. We have this doorway of the eclipse, as you said, for 6 months. So why not fill it with your vision of all of the wonderful things, all the positive things that you want to bring in? As Bashar says, find your passion. Bring it in.
Be excited. Find the next thing. The most amazing, to live this way is really so much fun. But Bashar had said, live not only your passions, participate in what you're passionate about. However, make choices in every moment that excite you. In other words, what excites you? You get the choice between A and B. Which one is more exciting to you? Pick that one. Pick that one. Go with that. And when that burns itself out, when you're done doing that, find the next thing that excites you. And living that way will change everything. Change absolutely everything about the way that you think about life. Because how many people out there, including in our audience, are doing something that they only half like, that they're not really excited about, that they're not passionate about, because it pays the bills? What a crazy way to go through life. Your purpose here is to have fun. The soul you incarnate here to have fun, to pursue your passions, to be excited about life, and not have life control you the way you feel. You control the way you feel about life. That is what you're here for. To learn that one lesson. When you make that one transformation, you start determining how you feel about what's going on outside of you instead of the other way around. Really changes things. That's a perspective that will blow your mind if you start living it. One day to the next, you'll feel so good about things that you'll want to keep doing it over and over again, and it'll become more of a habit. And you'll feel better about yourself, about life. You'll feel happy. You'll feel joyful. You'll love more deeply, because there's nothing in the way of it. Nothing in the way of making it happen. So we got about 55 seconds left. What would you like to finish with?
Well, no, actually, I just wanted to say I don't even think we have that long, Michael, and I just wanted to say thank you. That was a positively beautiful way to close the show, and I'm so grateful for you and for everybody who tunes into us here at Connect to Love on PRN FM. And have an absolutely positively amazing, glorious day, and whatever you experience on the eclipse, make it be incredible and amazing.
Yes, I agree. Ditto. Ditto.
Thank you, Michael.
All right.
Until next time.